Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I hope you enjoyed my return with chapter 6. Today we're going to carry on with chapter 7. Now if you remember last time, chapter 6 was about Karlson and Smidge making a bell so that Smidge could call Karlson when he was lonely, since his brothers and sister got sick. And so then when Karlson was in Smidge's room, Miss Crawley, she almost came out and caught them, but Karlson ended up going underneath the bed, and then they were playing with her, and she thought there was a ghost. So this next chapter, let's see where it takes us. It's called The Neighbourhood Ghost. Smidge had a long, lonely day, and he simply couldn't wait for the evening. It felt almost like a sort of Christmas Eve, he thought. He played with Bumble and looked through his stamp collection and did a few math problems so he wouldn't get behind in class. And when it got to the time he thought Chris would be home from school, he rang him and told him about the scarlet fever. "I can't come to school because I'm in quarantine, you see." It sounded rather grand, he thought, and Chris must have thought so too, because he went very quiet. "You can tell Jemima too," said Smidge. "Aren't you bored?" asked Chris, when he finally found his tongue again. "Oh no," said Smidge. "After all, I've got..." He stopped. He had been going to say Karlson, but Dad had told him not to. Although Chris and Jemima had bumped into Karlson several times, back in the spring, that was before Dad said they mustn't tell a soul about him, Chris and Jemima would be sure to have forgotten about him by now. And that was just as well, Smidge thought. Because that makes him my special, secret Karlson, he thought. He quickly said goodbye to Chris. "Bye then, I've got to go now." It was depressing eating dinner on his own with Miss Crawley, but she had made some very yummy meatballs. Smidge ate lots. For pudding, she'd done apple cake and custard. That made him start to think she wasn't quite such a dead loss after all. The best thing about Miss Crawley is her apple cake, thought Smidge, and the best thing about the apple cake is the custard, and the best thing about the custard is that it's me eating it. But dinner time was still no fun at all, with so many empty places at the table. Smidge longed for Mum and Dad and Seb and Sally one by one. No, it really wasn't any fun, and what was more, Miss Crawley kept going on about Frida, and Smidge was already pretty tired of her. But at last it was evening. It was autumn now, and it got dark earlier. Smidge stood at his window, pale with excitement, and watched the stars come out above the roofs. He waited. This was worse than Christmas Eve. You were only waiting for Father Christmas then. And what was that compared to the neighborhood ghost? Nothing. Smidge chewed his nails nervously. He knew Karlson was waiting up there somewhere too. Miss Crawley was sitting in the kitchen with her feet in a bowl of water. She was taking her daily foot bath, but afterwards she'd promised to come and say goodnight to Smidge. Then it would be time to ring the bell. And then, lordy, lordy, as Miss Crawley always said, lordy, lordy, this was exciting. "If she doesn't come soon, I shall burst," muttered Smidge. But there she was. In through the door strode Miss Crawley, on big, newly washed, bare feet, making Smidge jump like a frightened little fish, even though he had been expecting her and knew she was coming. Miss Crawley gave him a suspicious look. "Why are you standing by the open window in your pajamas? Get to bed." I'm looking at the stars," stammered Smidge. "Wouldn't you like to have a look at them too, Miss Crawley?" That was his clever way of getting her over to the window. As she said it, he put his hand surreptitiously behind the curtain, where the string was, and gave it a hefty tug. He heard the bell ring up on the roof. So did Miss Crawley. "I can hear bells ringing up in space," she said. "How very odd." "Yes, that is strange," said Smidge. Then he held his breath, because gliding down through the air from the roof came a white and rather roly-poly little ghost. It came with its own music. It sounded very faint and very sorrowful, but there was no mistaking the neighborhood ghost's lament, drifting across the autumn evening sky. There Just look there. Oh, lordy, lordy, said Miss Crawley. She was as white as a sheet, and had to sit down in a chair, even though she'd said she wasn't afraid of ghosts. Smidge tried to make her calm down. Yes, even I'm beginning to see ghosts now, he said, but it's such a little ghost, it can't be dangerous. Miss Crawley wasn't listening. She was staring wild-eyed out at the sky, where the little ghost showing off his flying runs. Get rid of it, she gasped. But there was no getting rid of the neighborhood ghost. It floated one way and then the other. It soared and dived, and ever so often it turned a somersault in midair. The mournful music just went on, even when the ghost was doing its somersaults. It was really beautiful and poetic, thought Smidge. The little white ghost, the dark starry sky, and the mournful music. But Miss Crawley didn't think so. She grabbed hold of Smidge. Let's run into the big bedroom and hide there. The Stevensons' flat had 8 bedrooms, including the kitchen, hall, and bathroom. Seb and Sally and Smidge had a small room each. Mom and Dad had the main bedroom, and then there was a large sitting room. While Mom and Dad were away, Miss Crawley was sleeping in their room. It faced the garden in the courtyard, while Smidge's window looked out over the street. Come on, panted Miss Crawley. Come on, we'll hide in the big bedroom. Smidge hung back. Surely they weren't going to run away from the haunting when it had only just started. But Miss Crawley was determined. Hurry up, before I faint clean away. So, although Smidge didn't want to, he let himself be dragged off to the main bedroom. The window was open in there too, but Miss Crawley rushed over and slammed it shut. She lowered the blinds and closed the curtains tight. Then she started piling furniture against the door for all she was worth. She was clearly ready to do anything in the world to avoid seeing another ghost. Smidge couldn't understand it. Earlier on, she'd been so keen to be haunted, hadn't she? He sat on Dad's bed, watching her toil away, and shook his head. Frida would get all worked up like that, he said. But Miss Crawley didn't want to hear a word about Frida just at the moment. She went on, lugging bits of furniture, the chest of drawers, and the table, and all the chairs, and the little bookcase. There was soon an impressive barricade in front of the door. Right, that's that, said Miss Crawley, sounding satisfied. I think we can relax now. Then a deep voice, sounding even more satisfied, rang out from under Dad's bed. Right, that's that. I think we can relax now. We're shut in for the night now. And the neighborhood ghost emerged with a whoosh. Help! Screamed Mrs. Crawley. Help! How? Asked the ghost. Shift a bit of furniture, perhaps. I'm not a removal man, you know. The ghost laughed at his own words. Long and loud. Miss Crawley didn't. She rushed to the door and started shoving aside bits of furniture, sending the chairs flying. She soon demolished the barricade, and then launched herself into the hall, screaming at the top of her voice. The ghost went after her. So did Smidge. Bringing up the rear came Bumble, barking wildly. He recognized the ghost from its smell, and thought it was a great game. The ghost plainly thought so too. Whoop whoop, it screeched, flapping around Miss Crawley's ears. But sometimes it let her get a bit ahead to make it more exciting. They chased all around the flat. Miss Crawley in front and the neighborhood ghost behind, into the kitchen and back out again, into the sitting room and back out again, into Smidge's room and back out again, round and round and round. Miss Crawley screamed and shouted the whole way around, and in the end the ghost had to try to make her simmer down. Now, don't howl like that, just when we're having so much fun. But it was no use. Miss Crawley went on yelling and darted back into the kitchen. The bowl of water from her foot bath was still standing on the floor. The ghost was right on her heels. Whoop whoop, it bawled in Miss Crawley's ear, and she fell over the bowl with a crash. She let out a booming roar like a foghorn, and the ghost said, Shh, you'll frighten the life out of me and the neighbors. Calm down, or we'll have the police here. The floor was swimming in water, and in the middle of it all lay Miss Crawley. But she struggled to her feet, and with amazing speed and haired off, her wet skirt flapping soggily around her legs. The ghost couldn't resist jumping up and down a few times in the water left in the bowl. Great for splashing the walls, the ghost remarked to Smidge. Everybody enjoys a good trip over a bowl of water. What's she making such a fuss about? The ghost did one last jump and set off after Miss Crawley again. She was nowhere to be seen. But there were wet footmarks on the parquet floor in the hall. A trotting creepy crawly, said the ghost. These are fresh tracks. We'll soon know where they lead. Because guess who's the world's best tracker dog? The tracks led to the bathroom. Miss Crawley had locked herself in, and they could hear her triumphant laughter echoing a long way. The neighborhood ghost knocked on the door. Open up, do you hear me? Another arrogant laugh came out from the bathroom. Open the door or you can count me out, bellowed the ghost. Miss Crawley had gone quiet. She didn't open the door. The ghost turned to Smidge, who was trying to get his breath back after the chase. You tell her it's no fun if she's going to be like this. Smidge gave a cautious knock on the door. It's only me, Miss Crawley, he said. How long are you thinking of staying in the bathroom? I'll be in here all night, you can be sure of that, said Miss Crawley. I'm just going to make up a bed in the bathtub with all the towels. Hearing that, the angry ghost retorted. Yes, go on then. Just spoil everything so we can't have any fun anymore. But if you do, guess who'll be off to haunt Frida? It went very quiet for a while inside of the bathroom. Miss Crawley was presumably sitting, thinking over this awful threat, but eventually she said in a pitiful, pleading little voice, No, don't do that, eh? I don't think you should. All right, you come out then, said the ghost. Or I'm straight off to Frey Street, and then we'll have Frida on the TV box again. Sure as eggs is eggs. They heard Miss Crawley sigh several times. In the end, she called out, Smidge, put your ear to the keyhole. I want to whisper something to you. Smidge did as she asked. He put his ear to the keyhole, and Miss Crawley whispered to him, I thought I wasn't afraid of ghosts, you see, but I am. You're so brave. Can't you ask that dreadful creature to go away and come back another time, when I've got a bit more used to the idea? But to not go to Frida's in the meantime. He's got to promise that. I'll see what I can do, said Smidge. He turned round to speak to the ghost, but the ghost wasn't there. He's gone, shouted Smidge. He must have gone home. Do come out. But Miss Crawley didn't dare come out until Smidge had searched the whole flat to make sure the ghost had gone. Then Miss Crawley sat in Smidge's room for a long time, shaking all over. But eventually she recovered and was surprisingly perky. Oh, it was dreadful while it lasted, she said. But just think what a TV program this will make. Frida's never seen anything to compare with this. She sat there looking forward to it, as happy as a babe in the arms. Just occasionally, she gave a shudder as she remembered the ghostly chase they'd had. To be honest, I think that's quite enough haunting for now, she said. I hope I never have to see that nasty customer again. She had scarcely finished speaking before they heard a low mooing from Smidge's wardrobe. And that was quite enough to send Miss Crawley into hysterics again. Did you hear that? Mark my words, we've got ghosts in the wardrobe now. Oh, I think I'm going to die. Smidge felt sorry for her, but he didn't know what to say to comfort her. Oh no, he said, that's not a ghost. Perhaps it's a little cow. Yes, let's hope it's a little cow. But then a voice came from the wardrobe. A little cow indeed. Well, it isn't so there. The wardrobe door opened, and out came the neighborhood ghost in the white costume Smidge had made for it. It rose into the air with deep, ghostly sighs and started circling around the ceiling, low and short little sweeps. Woohoo! The world's most dangerous ghost, not a little cow. Miss Crawley screamed. Round and round flew the ghost, faster and faster it went, and Miss Crawley's screams rose louder and louder as the ghost grew wilder and wilder. But then something happened. The ghost banked a little too sharply, and its costume caught on a pointy bit of the light. There was a rip as the worn old sheets tore. The ghost outfit slipped off and was left hanging there, and Karlson was left flying around the light in his ordinary blue trousers, checkered shirt, and red and white striped socks. He was so carried away that he didn't even notice. He just kept flying around and around, wailing and moaning more spookily than ever. But on his fourth circuit, he finally saw there was something hanging from the light, fluttering in the draught as he zoomed by. "What's this cloth you've got dangling from your light?" he said. "Is it some kind of fly net?" Smidge could only groan. "No, Karlson, it's not a fly net." Then Karlson looked down at his tubby self, saw the problem, saw his blue trousers, saw he was no longer the neighborhood ghost, but just plain old Karlson. He landed in front of Smidge with an embarrassed little thud. "Ho hum," he said. "Accidents happen to the best of us, as we've just seen. But ho hum, it's a mere trifle anyway." Miss Crawley sat staring at him, white in the face. She was gasping for air like a fish on dry land. Finally, she managed to get out a few words. Who, oh lordy, who is that?" And Smidge said with a sob in his voice, "It's Karlson on the roof." "And who," panted Miss Crawley, "is Karlson on the roof?" Karlson gave a bow. "A handsome, thoroughly clever, perfectly plump man in his prime. I am, so there, the Karlson on the roof." And that is the end of Chapter 7 of Karlson Flies Again. And that's the end of our reading for today. I hope you enjoyed that chapter. We have this kind of developing character of the ghost, but it's interesting because now Miss Crawley knows who Karlson on the roof is. So we will see what happens. We'll see what happens next. Is she going to call the television company? I don't know. We'll see. Is she going to be friendly? But I hope you enjoyed the reading, and please tune in for Chapter 8 next time. Thank you.